All right, let's just jump right into this explainer and explore the absolutely mind-bending evolution of Kawasaki's most extreme motorcycles. If you've ever spent time on a track, or even just turned a wrench in your own garage, you know that engineering is usually one massive game of compromise. You're constantly balancing cost, emissions, noise limits, and the harsh realities of stop-and-go traffic. But today we're looking at what happens when a manufacturer decides to take all of those compromises, bundle them up, and throw them straight out the window. We are going to trace a lineage of speed that spans decades, looking at how a company rooted in heavy industries used its massive cross-disciplinary resources to build some of the most awe-inspiring machines ever put on two wheels.
So, to really get into this, we gotta ask a pretty provocative question. What kind of machine is born when you just completely remove the limitations of road laws, racing regulations, and honestly, maybe even common sense? Most motorcycle manufacturers build bikes to fit into a specific racing class, like the 600cc or leader bike categories. Or they build them to meet really strict street-legal emission standards. But Kawasaki, they decided they wanted to create a machine purely to showcase what their engineering divisions were truly capable of when completely, 100% unleashed. No headlights, no mirrors, no turn signals, and absolutely no limits.
And the answer to that question is 300 horsepower. Yeah, you heard that right. That is the staggering output of the 2015 Ninja HR. Just to put that into perspective for a second, most modern leader bikes hover right around the 200 horsepower mark, and those are already terrifyingly fast. So 300 horsepower in a motorcycle? That is an unadulterated, closed-course monster that completely shatters our standard understanding of performance. We're talking about acceleration that genuinely rivals Formula One cars.
Section 1. The Ultimate Monster. So if we want to understand the absolute pinnacle of this engineering madness, we have to look closely at the H2R. This thing was designed to deliver a sensory experience that just surpasses anything else riders can find today. And because it was developed exclusively as a closed-course model, it is completely free from the boring constraints of street riding. It effortlessly exceeds speeds of 300 kilometers per hour. Every single detail, right down to the hand-assembled construction by master craftsmen and that crazy silver mirror paint job, was engineered specifically for this intense, ultra-high-speed reality.
Section 2. A Legacy of Power. Now, this blunt force DNA didn't just appear out of nowhere, right? Kawasaki's relentless pursuit of acceleration supremacy actually kicked off way back in the late 60s and early 70s. Back then, they weren't just trying to compete, they were out to entirely dominate the American market, where quarter-mile times and raw top speed were quite literally everything. They released the 500cc H1 in 1969, which totally blew people away. But then in 1972, they dropped two legendary machines that would forever cement their reputation as the absolute kings of performance. There is a massive, massive contrast between the original 1972 H2 Mach IV and the modern Ninja H2R. That 70s H2 was a 750cc two-stroke triple, making 74 horsepower. Now, 74 horsepower might not sound like a whole lot today, but back then, combined with a really primitive chassis and this explosive power band that hit out of nowhere at 4,000 RPM, it was a wildly unpredictable beast. It actually earned a reputation as a widowmaker because it just loved to lift the front wheel and completely upset the chassis. Contrast that raw, almost uncontrollable brute force with the meticulously engineered physics and the electronic management of the 300 horsepower modern H2R. The H2R has the insane power, sure, but it actually has the chassis and aerodynamics to harness it.
And man, we absolutely cannot forget the 1972 Z1 900. This was a technological tour de force that established Kawasaki as a true heavyweight superbike leader. Honda had just released the CB750, which kind of caught everyone off guard. But instead of just rushing out a copycat bike, Kawasaki delayed their own project, bumped the displacement up to 903 cc's, and created the world's first mass-produced air-cooled double overhead cam inline 4. They actually codenamed it Project New York Steak because it was destined to be the most desirable cut on the menu. It was smooth, reliable, and capable of over 130 miles per hour, completely redefining the four-stroke superbike category.
Section 3. The KHI Collaboration.
So, how exactly did they make the leap from those historic, air-cooled legends of the 1970s to a liquid-cooled, supercharged, 300-horsepower hyperbike in 2015? Well, the motorcycle division realized something pretty quickly. They couldn't do it alone. If they wanted to build something the world had truly never seen, they had to look way beyond their own workshop. So they united the massive resources of Kawasaki Heavy Industries. This wasn't just a motorcycle project. It was a total all-Kawasaki collaboration.
They brought in the gas turbine and machinery company for the engine, the aerospace company for the aerodynamics and the gearing, and the precision machinery company for the advanced robotics used in the chassis welding.
Section 4. Supercharged engineering. Right at the beating heart of this collaboration is the engine itself. I mean, to squeeze 300 horsepower from a compact 998cc inline-4, you absolutely have to use forced induction. But while most motorcycle manufacturers would just, bolt on an aftermarket car's supercharger and call it a day, Kawasaki designed a bespoke, motorcycle-specific supercharger completely in-house. It uses a planetary gear train, which was designed using aerospace technology, running directly off the crankshaft to spin the ultra-precision machined impeller up to a mind-boggling 130,000 RPM. That is over 9 times the speed of the crankshaft itself.
That crazy 130,000 RPM literally forces 200 liters of air into the engine every single second, with the air traveling at 100 meters per second. This creates a massive 35 psi of boost. But here's the real engineering marvel. The system is so incredibly thermally efficient that they didn't even need to include an intercooler. By skipping the intercooler entirely, they saved a massive amount of weight and space, keeping the whole package as compact as your standard leader bike.
But here's the catch. Forcing that much air into an engine creates an immense amount of pressure and heat, and normally that leads to engine knocking, or pre-detonation, which basically just destroys the motor. To handle that extreme pressure, Kawasaki adapted technology from their gas turbine division. That division had recently built a gas engine boasting the world's highest electrical efficiency of 49.5%. By applying those exact same anti-knock fluid dynamics principles, along with features like anti-knock flat crown cast pistons, they kept the Ninja H2R's engine together under almost double the stress of a naturally aspirated bike. Incredible, right?
Section 5. Sculpted by aerodynamics.
But having immense power creates an entirely new set of physics problems. When you've got an incredibly light motorcycle pushing over 300 kilometers per hour, the air hitting the front of the bike literally wants to pick it up and throw it backward. Keeping this missile from taking flight was the very next hurdle. To solve this, they brought in the aerospace company to utilize computational fluid dynamics, or CFD. Now, typically, sport bikes have a very aggressive, forward-canted nose-down rake. It helps them steer quickly into tight corners. But at 200 miles an hour, that nose-down posture acts like a giant parachute, creating massive drag. So, Kawasaki just abandoned that tradition. They gave the H2R a much flatter, neutral stance to slice through the air and reduce drag as much as possible for pure top-speed potential. They mapped every single pressure contour. Every surface of the bodywork was aerodynamically sculpted to perfection. Even the high-tensile steel trellis frame was chosen over a standard aluminum twin-spar frame specifically because its open design allows maximum airflow to dissipate the intense heat pouring off that supercharged engine, all while still providing the balanced flex you desperately need for stability at those unbelievable speeds. And the ultimate solution to that front-wheel lift? It lies right on the front cowl. Instead of mirrors, which, let's be real, you definitely don't need on a closed track anyway, it features aerospace-grade carbon fiber wings. And these aren't just cosmetic. The upper wings, side wings, and even the chin spoiler are perfectly designed to generate massive downforce, literally pushing the front tire straight into the pavement to keep the bike planted and steerable while you are holding on for dear life.
The culmination of all this unprecedented cross-industry teamwork, from the gas turbines to the aerospace wings to the advanced robotics, it earned the Ninja H2R the historic Kawasaki River Mark. This is an insignia that dates all the way back to their origins in shipbuilding in the 1870s. It's a very rare badge, reserved only for machines that represent the absolute pinnacle of their technology, originality, and innovation across the entire conglomerate.
So what you should really take away from this explainer is that the Ninja H2R isn't just a motorcycle. It is a profound statement of capability. From the raw, unbridled two-stroke terror of the 1970s H2 Mach IV, all the way to the highly calculated aerospace-grade physics of the modern supercharged Ninja H2R, Kawasaki has consistently refused to accept the standard limits of performance. It truly leaves us wondering, if a heavy industries giant can bend the laws of physics this far, what impossible machine will they dream up next?